This is a message from your guides reading for Earth and Space. So I have 3 crystals that I drew for this reading. I have my Tektite here. So that really goes along with Earth and Space because it has both of those energies, a lot of space energies, a lot of Earth energies, so a lot of balanced energies. Grounding, and then also connecting to your higher self, to your guides. And then I have here my Sodalite. So this is all about speaking your inner truth, expressing who you are, will, and different things related to the heart chakra, the throat chakra, different things related to the throat chakra. But then also it is associated with the third eye as well. So a lot of energies to do with focusing. It helps with meditation, clearing stress, clearing your mind. And then I have my lapis lazuli. So lapis lazuli is also both a throat chakra and a third eye stone. So this has to do with a lot of psychic abilities, developing them, and then also things to do with the throat chakra again, your will, your creativity, your intuition, speaking your truth. So we've got a couple throat and third eye stones. And I'm going to go ahead and surround us in some positive space with my Tektite here. Okay, so some different things coming up. One is there's a kind of Syrian energy near you, so this is feeling like a guide. And there's a female guide here. I'm not sure if that's the same Syrian energy that I'm picking up on or not, or if that's someone else. But one thing that's coming up is also they're definitely wanting to talk a little bit more about past lives. I keep cutting it a little bit before I talk, if you haven't noticed that. Okay, but one thing is that your Kundalini is already awakened, it feels like. Your chakras are very much in alignment. This feels like it's been a while. This doesn't feel like a super recent thing. even though they're bringing it up now, I don't know if they've ever brought that up in any of your readings before or not. I don't think they have. But I've done so many that obviously I don't remember the details of everybody's readings. But that's one thing that they're bringing up. They're bringing up that your Kundalini has been awakened for a while, and your chakras are very aligned. And even because of that, your chakras are well aligned. And you've maintained that. And it feels like this Kundalini awakening and even your chakras coming into alignment like that, it feels like part of this was because of different spiritual practices that you were looking into and different things that you were doing that you felt to do or that you resonated with, even if it was temporary. So different things that you've tried, and this includes meditation and various ways that you have meditated, even it feels like affirmations and different energies that you've just held, within yourself, whether it was through affirmations or just staying positive within yourself. And there's this sort of solid kind of grounded energy that's there that you've developed. And that really harnessed this Kundalini awakening. Now, this is bringing them back to this idea of earth and space. And they're saying that this is part of the reason that they actually chose that name. Because when somebody's Kundalini is activated like that, and it's awakened like that, it's connecting to all of the chakras. And so there's this very grounded, this sense that the person is very grounded, but then also that they're very clear up here in the higher chakras as well. And so higher energies can also pass down through them and to them, so they can successfully communicate with the person and guide the person with suggestions. So this doesn't always mean it comes in some kind of loud, booming voice or something that is super tangible for a person to experience. Sometimes, most of the time actually, it's more subtle. Our guides are just talking to us with suggestions. And a lot of times it can sound just like our regular thoughts. It's not like they want to just interrupt us all the time, interrupt everything. Unless they really feel the need to, or if the person is really seeking them out, the person is desiring that. Or it can also mean that maybe the person is just very receptive to that specific way of communication. Maybe they have some psychic gifts or mediumship or something that causes them to tap into that more easily. And then that wouldn't be really like an interruption, because that would still be, it would be something that is just sort of normal for that person, how that person operates, in other words. But typically guides don't want to interrupt. They are suggesting things. They're protecting us with their energies, with their guidance. But at the same time, they're letting us go through our day. But they're saying that you are very psychic, you are very intuitive, and you do allow them to communicate with you in various ways. So your guides are able to speak to you. Now, they're also saying that your Kundalini was initially activated when you were actually really young. But then it feels like it closed down again. And so you didn't maintain it. And then later on, it feels like there's a feeling from your guides like your natural way of being is to have this open and operating, and this is from past lives. So you had already developed this in past lives where you had maintained that. You had maintained certain things. It feels like balancing out your feminine and your masculine energies, aligning your chakras, but also with your Kundalini. That your Kundalini was awakened, and so your chakras were automatically, there's almost this kind of magnetic feeling. Like when that happens, there's like this charge. So it almost attracts the chakras sort of into the right position. If they're ever out of whack or off alignment, they're off tilt, or they get kind of pushed aside somewhere because of different blocks that occur. So we have sort of energy sometimes like a block that will kind of push against a chakra. It'll move over a little bit. So they have to be realigned. But when your Kundalini awakens, like they're saying, it's like this burst, it's this charge of energy. And so it really aligns your chakras. And as long as that's maintained, it keeps them in a more or less pretty straight position. Or at least these standard ones, how we think of like, you know, the 7, 13 chakras, these kind of standard larger chakras, at least all of those are pretty much in a line. They're where they're supposed to be. So there's less blocks in them, and they tend to operate a little bit more regularly. It's easier to maintain them. So it feels like this was your natural state. Now, someone obviously can say, okay, well, isn't that everybody's natural state because we're really from spirit and then we come here, blah, blah, blah. But what they're meaning is that in this 3D place where most people, they come here and their chakras and everything, it almost feels more natural for them to get out of whack because people are not used to this place. They don't know what to think of this place because we are from spirit. What your guides are saying is that in your case, it's natural for you to hold that and maintain that here. And that has to do with lifetimes that you had before on Earth. So right now they're talking about Earth lifetimes. Yes, you've had a lot of star lifetimes, and that's definitely something that has helped you a lot. And that's definitely something that they're including as well. That also helped you definitely initially. When you were incorporating different things. When you came to Earth, you had that initially, these energies from these different lifetimes that could help you out when you came into some of your initial lifetimes. Because it caused you to be attracted to more spiritual things. So this is feeling like some Sirian lifetimes, some Pleiadian lifetimes, some Arcturian lifetimes. But then this is feeling like it feels like before that though, before those lifetimes in these kind of standard kind of star systems that we hear about pretty regularly, where people are coming from these places to Earth a lot. It feels like even before those lifetimes, there's another place. This doesn't even feel like here. It feels more like another universe. And it feels like that's where you were initially. But you ended up resonating with a lot of energies in this universe. So Arcturus is one. Even Lyra is coming in a bit as well. And there's definitely a Lyran energy around too. But I'm not sure if this guide would actually consider themselves a Lyran. Or they just had some past lives from there. So there's some Lyran energies in their aura. So kind of like you a little bit. There's some Lyran energies in your aura, but you have some other energies as well. So they're resonating with that planet, but there's also other places that they're resonating from. So I wouldn't say this guide is Lyran, whoever it is I'm picking up on. Because your guides are not really being that specific about themselves right now. They're more talking about you. But I know they have come in at different points during various readings, obviously. Okay, now they're talking about your hands as well. Like healing energies in your hands. It feels like most of your lifetimes, people tend to, a lot of times, they tend to carry a theme. So if somebody is royal right now, they weren't necessarily poor in some other lifetime. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. But a lot of times a soul is exploring a certain theme. And once they explore it, they build up some karma from that theme. And there are lessons that they feel like they could have continued learning as well from that theme, which is really what karma is all about. It's more about lessons. It's about energies that build up, whether it's negative or it's positive. It's not about punishments. It's about what you attract yourself based off of energies that you're in, based off of energies that have accumulated. So a lot of times people experience something that's really bad that happened to them. They didn't cause it, but there's so much energy built up from it, something that they felt a victim to, that now they experience a lot of karma in another lifetime from that. So again, it has nothing to do with you did this or they did that or whatever. It has to do with, sometimes it can obviously, but it more has to do with energies that have accumulated, what you're storing in your energy field. Okay, so this comes back to, so when you were healing others, okay, and when you were using psychic abilities, to give information to others that was accurate, or again, you were helping to heal others or heal the planet. There's even a feeling of connecting to nature. Some of this is even working with animals or healing animals. So this built up more positive karma. It doesn't mean that you don't have to go through anything in this lifetime, obviously, because you can build up, obviously, various energies within a lifetime. It actually feels like this lifetime, almost like your soul was testing you a little bit. You were testing yourself in some ways, and your guides were too, because it feels like you weren't born into a situation that was automatically so spiritual, and you had to sort of find that later on. So that was almost a test of sort of, will he find that? Will he come into those energies again? Are they almost like that strong with him? That he will resonate to the point that he will go back to them, that he'll sort of find himself again. And that's what you did. So it doesn't feel like you were always heavily into spirituality during this lifetime. But it feels like you brought those energies in and you sort of couldn't help releasing them and expressing them and allowing them. It feels like at some point that just had to happen because of how strongly you've resonated with them in the past, and again, how used to carrying those energies you are. So you were tested a little bit in this lifetime, and it definitely feels like you passed. And you definitely passed with flying colors in that way. So it feels like your Kundalini kind of automatically opened up again. But that's also why your Kundalini opened when it was so young, when you were so young. Because of this same idea, this same concept, that you've had that before so much that you became more used to it. So your energies are automatically used to operating higher, holding a higher vibration, even though you're in a lower one. So that's what you're used to maintaining and what you're used to holding. So they're saying that the more that you allow your gifts and you let them up, and the more that you continue speaking to your guides, the more that you explore things like healing, even reading others, it feels like that's something that you could actually explore. But there's definitely a feeling of healing others. And that feels even stronger. And it feels like you've had more lifetimes where you were doing that. And again, there's a lot of positive energy that built up from that. And this is actually feeling like it's even including plants as well. Trees, plants. Again, they mentioned before healing the earth as well. Connecting to the earth, healing the earth. So this definitely includes things like trees, flowers, plants, and they have their own way of communicating. There is definitely a feeling of communication as well between you and animals, and healing animals, but it feels the same with plants, trees, even the ground, and connecting to the earth and sending healing energies to the earth and finding out what it needs, by tuning into it and communicating with it. And you did that by feeling still, and it feels like you were more picking up on this empathically and clairsentiently. So it was more feeling based, it feels like, versus like clairvoyance or clairaudience. So you were sort of feeling the trees and feeling the plants and feeling the earth. And the animals were a little bit more telepathic, where it feels like there was also some kind of thought-based communication going on as well. But it feels more like silent thoughts, like wordless thought and communication. So not like you're necessarily, it can obviously come through in that way. Energy, we can interpret it with words that we can understand, whether we're talking to an animal or whatever, or an alien, whether we're speaking to someone who speaks our language or not. If they know how to communicate telepathically, this can still come through in words to us. Again, just based off when we filter it in our minds, it can come out through whatever language it is that we're most comfortable speaking. Whether that other being speaks an entirely different language or they don't use words, because it's just energy, and energy can be interpreted in obviously an unlimited amount of ways. So they're saying that it comes through and then you have to interpret that correctly, but based off of your own tools, your own awareness. So in other words, you can use an unlimited amount of tools to get the same message, or even to get the same message across. I keep saying a deer over and over again. They keep showing me a deer, and that's actually starting to feel really significant. At first, I was just thinking that this is just sort of, past life pictures, which it is connected to that. But now they're kind of making me more aware of the deer. So this is feeling like a totem animal. This is even feeling to the level of power animal, although I feel like there are some others as well. So this is still feeling in some ways more like a totem. Now, okay. So as I'm working with people and I'm working with their guides, it's usually more like sort of, well, they're not always humanoid, but I wouldn't consider them like an animal or a plant or something. But then as I continue reading people sometimes, or even sometimes a brand new client that I've never read before, I'll kind of bump into another team, like I'll bump into like a team of animals or even a team of plants or trees. And I feel like everyone actually has various types of guides as well, and teams that actually work with them. So I feel like everybody has that, but people can most relate to the more kind of standard, kind of humanoid guides. Or even if they're not exactly humanoid, not exactly an animal or a plant. Plants, I would say, I come across the least because, again, people have an easier time usually connecting with an animal than they do with a plant. But I feel like everybody really has a team of even plant guides around them or tree guides and a team of animal guides around them as well. And that's just because I will bump into that sometimes. Okay, so this is not exactly feeling like a power animal, okay, but this feels like a guide working with you. So this feels like a being that has contracted with you, okay? But I wouldn't put this on this standard team that I normally connect with and that I'm delivering messages through. Okay, I would put this on like a secondary team. Okay, so like a kind of totem animal, power animal kind of team. But this is definitely a being that has worked with you your whole life. Now, the thing about deers is they're really shamanic. They are considered a being that, especially in Celtic shamanism, like if you see like a white deer, that represents, especially a doe, like a female deer, it represents that this being is drawing you into the spirit world, into the spirit realm. So they're sort of calling you back there. So that's its kind of job. It wanted to lure you back to spiritual things and open you up to them and to make sure that you completed that. So I would say the deer did a very good job as well, but you did a good job with listening. And that's one thing that your guides are saying, is that you're a good listener. Okay, so we are up on the time frame. I feel like your guides could keep talking, but we are up on the time frame. Okay, so I was just waiting to see if they had anything else to say really quick, but they're going to go ahead and end it. So thank you so much for allowing me to do this reading for you. I truly hope, as always, that it benefits you. Namaste.